Hello, welcome to another Monday live stream of me to you. Let me make sure I'm happy with my lighting as a Libra rising. Gotta have good lighting, of course. Welcome to today's readings. This live, Monday live, has become our regular live. It's dedicated to doing your chart readings. I am going to be answering your questions. The way this works is I ask for a donation. Suggested amount is $35 to get on my list. You can send the donation via the link. I am going to put it in the comments. There's a link. Please use that link. Specifically, I would prefer that you use the links provided because then it kind of, it's like straightforward. It goes to me. So once you send the donation, you can send me your date, time, place of birth, and your question. I ask that you prioritize a single question, maybe a couple of things, just because these are shorter readings. For full-size readings, you can always book one on my website, anastasia.astrology.com. And if you are okay with your information being public, you can put it in the chat. If you want it to be private, you can email me at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. If you want your information to be private, meaning I will not put it on my screen, I will not share it with everyone, please put that in that email. Just, you can do it on all caps. I wouldn't think you're screaming at me. So just specify that you want your info to be kept private. Hi, Lisa. Hi, King Capricornium. So I do have 3 people on the list already. Whoever is here first, I guess we can start. I have Luan, Veronique, and Lisa. So if I see Lisa is here, I would love, let me know if you have sent the donation. So MSKG74, are you Luan? I don't know. Like, do tell me what your name is, how to call you. Okay, Luan, I see you. MS. Okay, Veronique, awesome. So since all 3 of you are here, I'm gonna go in order. Luan sent her donation last week, so we will start with her. And Lisa, you are on my list. Yeah, so I have 3 people right now: Luan, Veronique, Lisa, and this is in order of the donation being received. If you are not, if you're not chatting with me, keep updating the live, especially if you're being shown commercials. Just something to keep in mind, because you're likely watching me live right now, but then as the live continues, there may be some delays if you're popping on a little later, if you're going away, etc. Just keep refreshing it so you are live with me, especially if I'm doing other people's readings. Okay, Ruby Rose, adding you to my list as well. So we already have 4 people. I might take 8 people at max, because I'm kind of aiming to do like 15 minutes per person. So if you want to jump on the list, do that soon. And Venmo is perfect. Lisa, you're wondering if Venmo is okay. Venmo is great. Yeah, like as long as you're using the links, there's Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. Those are perfect for me. Okay, so Luan. Ruby Rose, thank you so much. Okay, Luan, you said you'd like your information to be private. And happy belated birthday. I'm not going to say when it was or anything else, but happy belated birthday. Okay, so I can share your chart without your information. Is that okay? Or would you want me to just not share anything? Because I can also just show the circle with the planets without your birthday info if you'd like me to. You're saying it's fine. Okay, so... And you just wanted to know, just to confirm, your interest was just what's happening presently and what is coming up for you. I might end up hiding your information anyways, just because in order to look at transits, I don't think, at least I haven't discovered in my app yet, an option to show transits without the information. But we are going to check. And yeah, Luan, if you have any, like, if you wanted to ask anything more specific, I can definitely just tell you what I'm seeing, what's being activated for you right now. But feel free to specify, adjust, change things, and so forth. Hi, Nikki Riazope. Hi, Julia. Hi, beautiful Libra rising Julia. Good to see you always. Okay. So, Luan, I am going to share just the circle so we confirm that all of that is looking good. Okay. I also see Linda. So, Linda goes on the list as well. Thank you, Linda. So, okay, just to again refresh before I dive into Luan's reading, we have Luan, Veronique, Lisa, Ruby, and Linda. And so, if you know that you're like a little later on the list and you wanted to, if you were like kind of wanting to walk around, take a beat, and come back, that's also fine. But if you like, I find a lot of people say that it's fun to listen to other people's readings because it could be quite educational. So, you're welcome to do that. But yeah, just a note to keep refreshing things if you are watching and joining. Julia's Libra power. Avery, Nikki, Riazope, you're saying you'll book a longer reading. Yeah, for longer readings, Anastasia.astrology.com is the best place. You can check out all the options on there and we'll talk face to face. So you'll get me for an hour and you can ask me as many questions as you'd like. But I find these to be quite fun too. Okay. Tim is also joining the list. The list is filling up really fast. I thank Venus in Taurus for the thank you the Venus is in my 8th house right now, which is, all the mysteries and also like other people and things. Okay, Tim. Let me just make sure that I might close the list pretty fast because we are, as mentioned, it's filling up. And Luan, just be patient with me. I promise the moment I start doing your reading, I'll focus, but I'm just gathering my bearings. Okay, so right now it is 6 people. Luan, Veronique, Lisa, Ruby, Linda, and Tim. Okay, we'll see. I might take 2 more and that will be it. So Steph is asking, is there still room? So yes, I can take a couple more people, but then I will close the list just to keep it manageable. Okay, so Luan, do let me know if this looks correct for you. I have Aries Sun, Aries Moon, Taurus Rising. Does this look accurate? Looks good. Okay. So I'm just going to look at transits to see what, if anything, is jumping at me. Are you still located, Luan, in your birth town, or have you relocated? Okay. Stephanie, I see you. Thank you. Okay, so I'll take one more person tops. If you wanted to take that spot, do so right now or forever hold your peace. Or what is that saying? Okay, so Luan says move to live in Virginia, move to US at 10. Okay. So Let us see what is happening. April. So you've been kind of in this maybe a little bit tricky period, I want to say. So I'm not really showing this, but Saturn is presently in early degrees Aries, and Saturn went into Aries in February 13th, 2026, and it's going to stay here until April 2028. And you've been having Saturn on top of your sun, which is connected to home, family, can also represent parents and family and like father potentially. And then you've had Saturn also conjoining your moon because you're born on the new moon. So Saturn would have conjoined the moon, and the moon rules your third house of siblings, neighbors, community. It can also be connected to mother or women in your life. So I wonder if there's been any sense of, maybe some kind of challenges connected to the home, maybe a sense of having to retreat, having to move, some type of like hidden fights that you've been fighting. Saturn generally when it goes into your 12th house, and we've had Saturn in the 12th house as like a little preview between May and September 1st last year. And then we've had a whole full transit of Saturn in Aries in your 12th house between 96 and early 99. So what is happening in your life? You're saying retreat from family is correct. Have you felt maybe there were like did something happen that made you want to retreat from the family, or is it more just like overall exhaustion from family things? Linda, yes, I see you. You are on my list. Hi, Miss Bug 1213. So yeah, so what was happening in your life in 96, 97, 98? Do you remember, was that significant at all? Were there any sense of like isolation and maybe having to fight some inner battles? You're saying relationship with parent is not great. Yeah, and was anything similar happening like when you were much younger? Obviously, when you would have still been like really young, but like was anything happening in your life around that time? So Saturn in the 12th is this longer 2-year period of wrapping a lot of cycles and chapters. It's just started, right? So you're going to be in it for a couple of years. It could be deeply healing. And I've seen people discover yoga, discover astrology, go like, like it could be a period where you become really aware of all the self-defeating patterns. Like I had another friend, an Aries rising with Saturn. When Saturn was in her 12th house, she gave up drinking for a year, and not because she was drinking too much, but because she was just focusing on kind of giving up all these things that maybe weren't healthy. And so on some level, Saturn in your 12th house could be about that. It can also be this period, yeah, like for sure, retreating, realizing challenges that may exist in relationships, especially as it was conjoining your sun and moon. It can also be, yeah, it's like you're kind of in this period of spiritual endings, but maybe also through those spiritual endings discovering new beginnings, because after you go through this spiritual cleansing with Saturn in your 12th house, you're going to emerge with Saturn in the first as like someone with authority or in the position of power. You're also likely going through, I wonder what's happening with your career. You're saying yes, the same thing, learning to stand up on my own and distance myself from mom specifically. Okay. Yeah, it's you're born with like on the new moon being ruled by Mars in opposition to Mars. There is a lot to unpack here in terms of family relationships. And both parents, the sun and moon representing the mother and the father, both of them being in the 12th house. You've got this exalted sun, which is potentially something that gives you a lot of support through foreign lands and through connections with foreign people, even foreign journeys. The fact that you moved to the US at the age of 10, right? Your house of home and family is Leo, it's ruled by the sun in the 12th house. Home is a foreign land in your chart. And so there's probably, I would hope that there are some benefits that you kind of ripped. Is that the word? Benefits that you've gained from the foreign lands. But as far as the father and the mother goes, having the two planets representing father and the mother in the 12th house could be a sign of challenging relationships with them, where you didn't fully see them. They were, busy working a lot. There may be some kind of complicated relationship. And so Saturn, especially again, like looking back at 96, 99, how did that play out? And you're much stronger, older, more independent right now, and you can obviously handle things differently. For example, if like in 96, 99, you dealt with some I'm just, basing this on Nightlight Astrology is a channel on YouTube, and the host on there, Adam Ellenbus, he's a Taurus rising, and I listen to his videos sometimes. And he talked about his experience with Saturn in the 12th house as like having to move, dealing with some bullying, trying to fit in, but then eventually rising above that and realizing that like he doesn't need to be fulfilled by other people, and sort of learning to stand up on his own 2 feet. So Saturn in the 12th house could be really important for that. What I really like is the fact that Uranus is about to leave your first house. So Uranus is at the final degrees of Taurus, and it's been in your first house since um 2018, and it's finally leaving on April 25th, 2026, and then it will be in your second house. And so in a way, you've been going through these really big periods of identity changes, right? Maybe you've discovered a new religion, or you discovered astrology in the last few years, or you've gotten some tattoos, right? There could have been some like interesting bodily and personality transformations. And now that you are more aware of who you are, Uranus is going to go into your second house, which could disrupt your finances. But what it actually really wants to happen is not disrupt your finances, but I think it wants you to find more freedom. Maybe it's from your parents because it's the house of values and self-worth. Maybe it's from, depending on an employer, maybe it wants you to figure out work that is more fulfilling. And so you're going to have 3 Uranus midheaven trines, and Uranus will be here. Your midheaven is an early Aquarius. So on June 3rd is the first one, and give it a month on each side. So May, June. And then the second one is January 4th, 2027. And again, December, January, right? 2 months. And so there may be some type of professional surprises and opportunities to like incorporate technology, AI, some kind of, communication, travel, futuristic technological developments. So I think those are a couple of like really big things that are popping at me. And Saturn in Aries is also your Saturn opposition, so that's also like a significant period of a full moon of Saturn, of culmination of some type of legacy that you initiated back in when was Saturn in Libra? Oh, I know. I think I know. That would have been 2007, 2008, 2009. So Saturn, your Saturn return would have been around then. And so you're on some level, you're like celebrating what you've accomplished, but on the other level, you're maybe experiencing like a need to change that's connected to that. You're saying, yes, being lead to use my gift as a career and not 9 to 5. You are correct. Oh, you're being led to use your gift as a career and not 9 to 5. Yeah, those are, I think, the main things that I'm seeing. Let me know if you have any like follow-up questions. But since your question for the reading was more general, those are, I think, things that are jumping at me. Okay, so just while Luan is getting back, Veronique is next. Veronique, are you here? Luan is asking, curious about the love sector. Anything to speak about the love? Okay. Mm, okay, Veronique is here. Good. Um, and also for everyone who's watching, just make sure that you're watching live by refreshing the live once in a while, especially if you're being shown commercials, because you might get behind and then I'll be calling your name for 10 minutes and you'll only hear me later. So what's happening with love? Um, do I see any immediate transit? So your seventh house is Scorpio. It's ruled by Mars. Mars is something that could use help in your chart. I would recommend some rituals because Mars is considered to be in its detriment in Libra. It tends to create conflict avoidance. Mars is the partner. It's also your partner. It's your fighting spirit, your fighting energy, but it's also the partner because Mars rules the house of relationships. So you might end up attracting people who choose to not address issues or act conflict avoidant. So I have a few recommendations for this in terms of just like improving upon this energy so it behaves more constructively in your chart. I have candles. I would recommend Mars and Scorpio because it falls in your seventh house. I create them by electing the most beneficial times and capturing planets when they're strong. So that could be a good choice. You can also, every Tuesday, which is the day of Mars, you can do martial things. That would involve you doing martial arts or lifting weights or even like fencing or creating a sword, working with metals to connect with your martial spirit. And by doing that, it may seem like, why am I going to be working with like metals? But really, what that means is like it connects with your warrior within, and then Mars behaves more friendly, and then Mars attracts more support into your life. And so, um, and so doing, every Tuesday, day of Mars, I would light a candle. I would sort of write a prayer and ask for what you seek romantically, eat a bloody steak, exercise, lift weights, do martial arts, and all things like that to sort of improve upon this. Hi, Mike. Good to see you too. Yeah, and like in terms of Luan, other transits and stuff, like Scorpio season could be a really good time. And at the end of the year, October, November, you can actually expect someone from your past potentially knock on your door, as Venus goes retrograde from Scorpio into Libra. I don't know. I sort of always believe as an astrologer that you should be careful starting relationships on Venus retrograde, but I have a friend who just got married to a guy she met on Venus retrograde, and so just beware. Venus is retrograde from October 3rd until November, like I think it's October 3rd, November like 12th or something. It's about 6 weeks. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, Luan, thank you for the donation and for the good things. So my list as it stands right now, just to refresh, Veronique, Lisa, Ruby, Linda, Tim, and Stephanie. I could at most take one other person. So if you want to get on the list, do so now. And if not, the way you get on the list, I ask for a donation. There's a pinned comment. Please use the links in that comment or in the description. Suggested amount is $35. And once you send the donation, you will need to provide me with your date, time, and place of birth. And brain freeze. Provide me with your info and ask me a question. You can either put it in the chat or you can email me your question and specify that you want your information to be kept private. The email is Anastasia astrology@gmail.com. Okay. Male Hecker Barroso is asking, do you do synastry or is it necessary to book for that? And it's okay about all caps. I can do like a really sort of quick, like off the top of my head synastry. I would recommend booking a full-sized reading, because then I take, like an hour to prepare and analyze not just synastry, but a composite and each person individually. So if you're looking for like a very like quick, more like less in-depth analysis, I can see what I can pull from that, but I'd recommend the full-sized reading. Okay, Veronique, thank you for your patience. And you said it's okay to share your chart, right? I think you did. Okay, thank you for confirming. So I have your chart pulled up. Forgive what my program is doing. For some reason, it got very confused by the fact that there is an apostrophe over your name. So I don't know what this is. I did not type this, but it's I guess instead of E, it put AX. So ignore that. And you did say that you are an Aries Sun, Libra Moon, Leo Rising, right? Okay. Okay, awesome. So, to sum up, just to make sure that I understand your question fully, you have been involved in a difficult situation with family, right? There's issues with your brother and your mom, and so you're sort of feeling overwhelmed by the whole situation and hurt by it, and the question that you have is, I think, like whether it's worth fighting for things legally, or it would benefit you to step away from things almost and focus on yourself. So Saturn has entered your, even before then. Okay, so you're born with Venus and Aries. Okay, you're saying yes, good summary. So Venus rules your house of siblings. Venus is in her detriment in Aries. And so ruling the house of siblings does suggest you having a sibling who is in his or her detriment. That can show up in so many different ways, right? Sometimes it literally shows up as someone who has a disability, but then a lot of other times it could just suggest that the sibling possesses this sort of combative, fiery, maybe selfish energy with Venus and Aries, someone who is maybe non-compromising. Something about them is complicated. And then the ruler of the 4th house and the 10th house is Mars in Taurus. Mars in Taurus is also tricky because Taurus is the sign of sort of ease and harmony, and Mars is a warrior, and Mars doesn't really like to fight when it's placed in Taurus. So I think there may be like a lot of competition with the sibling. There may be a lot of unresolved conflicts. There's Neptune in your 4th house. You're born with Neptune in the 4th. I'm actually born with Neptune in the 4th. That could suggest some kind of confusion in the home. Maybe you probably have some type of like idealized version of what family is supposed to be, and then reality can be continuously disappointing you or showing you that it's not quite as you'd like it to be. And so the advice here would always be, do not rely on your biological family necessarily. Family can be defined in a lot of different ways. It can also be people you love and friends and kind of places that you love, right? With Neptune in the 4th, maybe being by the sea. I don't know if I like you starting legal action. I mean, there's a lot of planets in your 9th house, and you have there is a strong focus on travel and maybe even law, and I can see this being activated by, not only there are a lot of planets in the 9th house that you're born with, But right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, if you count Chiron, 5 bodies in your ninth house. And then there's going to be Mercury here, which is 6. And then there's going to be a new moon here on the 17th, which is 7th. So all of that is really kind of screaming that, okay, start something new in the house of legal matters. But there's also Mars and Saturn energy that is about delays and roadblocks and obstacles and some kind of frustration. What was happening in your life? Were there any legal battles back between 96 and 99? So 1996 and very early 99. So you would have been 28, right? When you were 28, 29, 30, when that was your first Saturn return. Because you're currently going through your second Saturn return, and second Saturn return can build on what the first Saturn return brought in. You're saying during the 90s, my brother and I were very close. Was there any, maybe it wasn't about the brother, but like what was happening in like late 90s in terms of maybe your brother was involved in legal matters? Maybe you were even travel or education. I'm just trying to gauge the ease of that period in regards to kind of those things. Sometimes it plays out as like, somebody in the family was fighting, or think of education, travel, legal matters, even like religion, and it would be specifically like 96, 97, 98 for the most part. I wonder too, because Saturn in the ninth. So there are a few things. This is your second Saturn return. You've had your Saturn return between 96 and 99, early 99, basically only until 98. The big question is, what was that like for you? If that was a period in which you were committed, Saturn in the ninth represents a need to create your own set of beliefs. Saturn in the ninth, being born with Saturn in the ninth might suggest being raised by family members who have very dogmatic approach. It could be being raised in a very religious household, or being raised by like family that, like, I don't know, some kind of beliefs and opinions of the family members that maybe you are meant to rediscover. You're meant to figure out your own opinions on things. And so Saturn in the ninth can create this sense of like life, and teachers and education and authority figures can feel difficult. But it's also potentially about like finding your own thing. You're saying tension with my mom, but not intense. 95, you graduated your master's. So after you graduated, was 96, 97, 98 about working? You're saying, yes, my mom was very controlling and I moved out. Was that around the same time, 96, 97, 98? I'm going to look at some things in terms of like what's been happening, because you gave me some dates. I want to see if anything interesting, if anything was activated around that time. So you said 2004 was when your father passed away. That was Saturn in the 12th house. And North Node was on top of your Mars, which rules the house of home and family. So that definitely reads as some kind of endings. And you said around the summer of 2025, that was when things started with your brother. So we've had Saturn in your ninth house. It very much entered your ninth house in late May and stayed until September 1st, giving you a preview of what might be happening and what might be what might be coming up around that time. Just a second. I'm going to officially close the list just because I think, how many people do I have right now? So I want to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I could potentially take one more person, but then I'm going to close it. So just FYI, we have a spot for one more person, but then we'll close it. Yeah, it's interesting because you do have a lot of energy in your ninth house, and one might interpret it as like this energy suggests that you're meant to get involved in legal matters, but like I don't know if I would necessarily encourage you to do that. I feel like maybe this period is more about like working on yourself and discovering your own beliefs, especially with Jupiter about to go into your first house. I mean, I don't know how much you trust your brother to sort of like, I don't know if you have anything else to share to sort of, because you're wondering, I guess you're wondering whether you should like continue fighting with your brother or like step back to protect your well-being. And my instinct is to say that if you've been involved in this fight with your brother for a really long time and it's taxing your well-being, then you should absolutely step away and focus on yourself, especially it's going to be your Jupiter return starting June 30 and then for about a year, and then South Node is going to go in the first house, and there will be a lot of the sense that South Node in the first could be a sense that you've been playing a role. And with Leo rising, it's like a role of an entertainer, a role of someone who's generous, who warms people up, who takes care of things or makes people laugh, makes people feel happy. But there might be a sense that you've been wearing a mask that no longer fits. And so the next year can be very much about disengaging from the way you used to present yourself and sort of changing things. You're also saying met my long-term partner at the end of 98 and moved in with him. Okay. And you're still together, right? Hi, Eve. Okay, you're saying I don't trust my brother. He's a very good chess player and it's draining me. But you feel very guilty for your mom. Oh, you separated in 2017. Okay. Well, the big sort of focus that will be happening in your chart over the next few years is North Node in the 7th house. So it's going to be this sense of letting go of old identities, and do take good care of your health. Just generally, nothing big needs to happen. But when South Node comes into the 1st house, that is often this period of like Jupiter will be supportive. So on one hand, you have this protective energy and it's your Jupiter return and you're born with Jupiter in the 1st house. So you have a lot of kind of supportive players, but with South Node, there may be some kind of sense of having to like release things. And North Node will bring a lot of focus on relationships. So I do see, just to sum up, I think with Saturn, it's your 2nd Saturn return. Think back again on think more of 96, 99. What were the long-term projects that you were involved in? Did they go well? If you had some kind of project you began and it worked out, then good. If you felt like that period was kind of busy and taxing and maybe required you to take it slower, maybe do that. it's just a big question, and I think Saturn being here for 2 years does suggest that you can get yourself, like, it kind of says that there is some heavy thing that you might get involved in, but I don't know if it's a good idea. Like, I don't know if it's gonna fulfill you. I feel like to me, what it's saying is, like, if you get involved in a legal battle, it might not result in a way that you'd like. It might take a lot of energy, time, and finances, maybe, but it's not necessarily going to bring good results. That's what I think. Your natal Jupiter is retrograde, but it's still Jupiter, and Jupiter on the ascendant is such a powerful, like, lucky, supportive energy. So even though it's retrograde, I wouldn't worry too much about it. When Jupiter is retrograde, it just suggests that internally you tend to question things more, instead of it being just sort of abundant good luck. There may be more delays, maybe more discernment, maybe more questions around faith and what you believe. And maybe, like, also it's not about finding, Jupiter retrograde could be suggesting that abundance for you is not about outside material resources. It could also be a lot more about, like, understanding yourself and building your spiritual resources. So it's more about inner than outer abundance, I think. So, take care of your health. You're saying, when you say take care of your health, what do you mean? Physical? Yes, physical health. It's just South Node in the first can bring this, like, just a sense of letting go of a lot of things, and so sometimes it can also bring questions that you're almost like taking less care of your body because of the strong focus on relationships, partnerships, contracts, agreements. So as much as you can, prepare for it right now, and, like, figure out your diet, get your appointments in order. I don't see it ever, at least I haven't seen it be dramatic. Like, I don't think it's going to be like something big, but it could be the time you, like, get a colonoscopy and you have to handle some health matters. Okay, I hope this helps. It's kind of obviously a complicated question. And I don't know. I feel like there's a very strong suggestion that some type of legal battle will happen for you, but as mentioned, I don't know if it's a good idea. I feel like if I were you, I would suggest that you focus on yourself, and maybe commit to some kind of exciting personal projects instead of getting involved in a legal battle that might take a very long time. And that's another thing too, right? Like, with Leo energy, there's a lot of focus sometimes on how we should be and what we should do and what will get the most applause. And applause, not literally, right? But there might be this question with the South Node coming into your first house of, like, you behaving more true to yourself, and not playing the part that other people expect you to play. You're saying I want to focus on me, even if it creates culpability, so you confirm my needs. Yeah, I'm glad it feels like that. Okay, I'm closing the list, just FYI. So we will get through people that are on the list today, and that will be it for the day. Veronique. Veronique is saying, you're saying, yes, finding myself even at my age is still my challenge. Yeah, never too late. And you're welcome. I'm glad it was very helpful. Good to know. Good to hear. Okay, Lisa is next. And so we have Lisa, Ruby, Linda, Tim, and Stephanie. So Lisa, I have your email. Is it okay to share your chart, or would you rather I keep it private, Lisa? Okay, if Lisa is not with us right now, if she's maybe she's gonna join a little bit later, Ruby or Linda, you guys can jump on and we can just sort of shuffle things around a little bit. But if Lisa, oh, Lisa, okay, awesome. Good to know that you are here. Okay, you're saying I can share. And just to see what you're asking, you're saying, I'd love to know if you see a new career for me, especially the timing. I have an Aries stellium in the second house and just had a progressed new moon on January 19th, 2026. I like all the astrological knowledge that Lisa is sharing with us. You're saying hopefully some new beginnings in the career sector, also a new home. Okay. So again, just a notification for people who are watching. Keep refreshing it if I'm not doing your reading yet, just so you're watching live, especially if you get any commercials, because that might create delays between my live and your live. Okay, so Lisa said it's okay to share. And you are, at least from what I'm seeing, I have a Cancer sun, Gemini moon, and Pisces rising. Is that correct for you? And I'm just going to quickly check on the progress chart because you mentioned it. So let us see what's happening in there. Okay, so this is your progress chart. I do see the new moon. That is significant. It's in the fourth house of home and family and could very much suggest new beginnings related to home and family. A lot of times this could suggest starting a family, moving, expanding property. And the moon in Virgo, it's usually the progressed moon stays in a sign for a couple of years. It's also a period in which you might be quite perfectionist and looking for maybe a dream home or some kind of new beginnings there. And what do we have transit wise? So that to me definitely reads as like new beginnings in the home and new home. Maybe not immediately, right? The phases generally a certain phase of the moon lasts about like three and a half days in the sky, right? Every 7 days we get like a quarter moon. So yeah, like from a new moon to the quarter moon, it's about 7 days. So new moon phase might only last about 3.5 days, but in the progress chart, days equal years. So it might also suggest that you have just had that new moon, and the idea of moving or a new home or changes in the home have been planted, like seeds with the new moon. They've been planted in the ground, and you're kind of working towards realizing them. And because it's a 3.5 year period, it may be something that takes a while. And another question you had was about the main question, I guess. You're wondering whether there's a new career, especially the timing. And so since we're looking back, since we're walking down memory lane here, right? So Lisa, what was Saturn in Aries like for you the first time? What was it like back in 96, 99? And then a follow-up question, what was your Saturn return like the first time in 94 into 96? If you could reflect on like these specific periods, because I do wonder. So the ruler of your midheaven is Jupiter. It is in the fourth house of home, family, living situation. So it kind of suggests working from home. It may suggest working in real estate, working with families, like being social worker or something. And Uranus is going into your fourth house. Here it is. I feel like there's also some kind of sense that your career is maybe impacted by where you live. And so if the home situation is changing, the new career is coming along with it. So that's something to consider. Jupiter is in your fifth house right now. It's exalted. It's kind of really suggesting a need to figure out what you really like and connect with your inner joy, your inner child, follow your passions. So that's been something that's been going on since June 9th, 2025, and you still have the empowered chart ruler until June 30 this year. And what's interesting is Jupiter is going to enter your sixth house. Okay, Lisa is saying, got divorced in 94, met my current husband near my Saturn return in 95. Okay. What about the period more like 96, 97, 98? And also 94, 95 in regards to career, because we're talking about career right now. But the precedence, the question of precedence is always important. So if you met your current husband in 94, oh, you got divorced in 94 and you met him in 95. That could also be, well, I mean, we wrapped up that cycle. I'm just more kind of curious about what was happening. But yeah, 96, 98 is what I'm more curious. You're saying I had one career for 32 years in salon business. COVID ripped it away and have had 16 corporate jobs. Oh my God, since 2021, 16 corporate jobs. What a Jupiter in Gemini ruling the midheaven. That's crazy. Yeah, I understand you being over it. But yeah, if you remember what was happening financially in 96, 97, 98, financially and with work, because we are in a similar period, I think. So, okay, so Jupiter is really urging you to find joy in what you do. North Node is bringing a lot of attention to personal agency, health, body, identity. There is one other eclipse here in August. There is also Jupiter going into your sixth house of work, health, and service in late June, and then South Node entering your sixth house in July. And so that could suggest a new work coming in. But South Node might suggest some type of sense that you have to clear and release things first, and you're maybe going to be letting go of we're all going to be letting go of this sort of Leo energy of wanting to be liked or caring what people think. And North Node is going to go into your 12th house. And I wonder if there is some like unorthodox career that you might be exploring, like being an herbalist or being somehow like independent. And the last time we've had this cycle, that would have been 2000. I think it's 2008, 2009, but I feel like all of these dates have just confused me. So 2008. That doesn't look like it. What am I thinking? No. Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking of something. I'm looking at a different chart. This is the wrong chart. Yeah. So 2008, 2009. Okay. Lisa says career was great from 88 to 2020. 98, dad passed away. Finances were great at that period. Okay. You had an eclipse on your Mars last summer. Are you still working, or are you, because you said you've had 16 corporate jobs, do you have a job right now? Yeah, I think you can get a new job, and I wonder if this sort of July period could be significant, July, August, because that's around the time when Jupiter will be in the sixth house. I think it suggests work that may be involved with helping, healing people, animals. And I mean, you said you worked in salon business. That's kind of interesting. So it may be, there may be some kind of service oriented job, but I wonder if it's more about like, instead of physical problem solving, there may be more opportunities with North Node in the 12th to do creative things or do spiritual things, or, you know, do like some type of like mental health type of work, or just find work that allows more freedom and less kind of sorry, I'm trying to figure out what I want to say. Okay, you're saying 2008, 2009, you had a foreclosure on the home. That's interesting because you're looking at home and living situation, and we're coming back into this period. And you're saying, I'm still working, but it is nosediving, financially nosediving, because Medicare is seasonal. Are you connected to, your work is connected to Medicare somehow? Saturn in the second house can be, why is this not okay? Saturn, there it is. So Saturn in the second house is a 2-year long period in which you are having to figure out finances, get more responsible with finances. And somehow it's similar to 96, 98, but what you remember was your father passing away and finances were being good. So that's maybe supportive. That's maybe suggestive that whatever was happening professionally back then, if you follow those footsteps and repeat similar things, it can bring you money. But Saturn in the second can also be this sign that you're looking, if you're looking for other people to validate you, and if you're looking for other people to like point the way or recognize you or give you like something specific, it might be delayed. It might be something that's like long coming. Like it's almost not worth waiting for that. It's better for you to figure it out for yourself. But I do think new job is possible. I think Jupiter in the 6th will be supportive of that, because it does suggest some type of like a lot of things, like a lot of work, or some type of, you know, like Jupiter in the 6th might suggest that you're taking on something new, a course of study, a new job, you're learning a lot, you're doing new things, but it will be about kind of closing old chapters and welcoming new chapters. And with North Node in the 12th house, it could be creative work, it could be imaginative work. Will Jupiter in Leo bring new career potentially? Yes, it could. It could for sure. You're saying I would love creative things. We've had Jupiter in Leo last time in 2014, 2015. So, but I mean, you've been in the same career for a really long time, right? But I wonder if 2014, 15 has brought any new developments or opportunities, perhaps. So yeah, I think July, August is potentially the time frame for new beginnings, but really with Jupiter in your 5th house, it's such a personal transit on many levels. And it's, the question here is, are you doing things that bring you joy? And are you being your own source of kind of validation with Saturn in the 2nd? Like there may be a lot of questions of like, success and joy depends on believing in yourself, depends on investing in yourself, right? Saturn in the 2nd can also be a sign that maybe there's not a huge financial abundance right now, but it's because you are working on rewiring your brain and you're working on starting new projects, starting new job, and things like that. Okay, you're saying you're working with sales of Medicare. In 2014, 2015 was slowing of salon career. So you were kind of at the crossroads, similarly looking for new opportunities. And you are, you turned 60 last year, right? It's the 1st house year. and you turn 61, which means you're going into the second house year. I would maybe recommend doing some Jupiter remediation, because you're born with Jupiter in Gemini, and Jupiter is always a good planet. It always wants to help. It always going to try to do its best, but it is in its detriment in Gemini, because Jupiter is the planet of optimism and faith, and Gemini just sees too many possibilities and can be a little bit chaotic and can be too in your head, right? There's almost like your mind can be the enemy of your optimism at times. And so I would recommend my lunar Jupiter candles for you, or Jupiter in Taurus, because that falls in the third house and could be good for business or skills development and like abundance. But lunar Jupiter is great as well, because that's Jupiter in Cancer. And every Thursday, if you could have some kind of like spiritual ritual, right? Like lighting a candle, reading a prayer, asking sort of the universe for support. You can also take classes at that point. Wear blue, which is the color of Jupiter, and maybe even teach some things. That could be like a Jupiterian ritual. But when you turn 61 in June, you're also leaving the year of Jupiter, and with Jupiter being in its detriment in your chart, it could be the year in which you're sort of struggling a little bit more, and then you're going in the year of the second house, which is the year of Mars. And so that might sort of be a vibe shift, I think, a change. I want to see where Jupiter will be on your birthday. Oh, sorry, where Mars will be. Mars is in Taurus in the third house. Yeah, I wonder if there's like an opportunity for some kind of skill development, like new things, and focusing a lot on like how you can take your original ideas and do work that is community oriented and can benefit people. That's what I am seeing. Do let me know if you have any follow-up questions. I feel like it was a very Gemini reading. We like looked at a million things. Hi, Ellen. Good to see you. Okay, so after Lisa, next I have Ruby, Linda, Tim, and Stephanie. Ruby, are you here? And Lisa, yeah. So to sum up, I think first of all, ask yourself what makes you happy with Jupiter there, and look at the next year as a period to investigate that and work on that. You can do some Jupiter rituals, pick up a candle if you feel like or an oil if you feel like you could use some astrological magic. And with Saturn in the second, be ready to like redefine your finances and your self-worth, and yeah, potentially start new things. You're saying that is so me. many things. Yeah, I'm a Gemini moon like you, so I feel like together we created a very Gemini reading. You're welcome, Lisa. I hope it was helpful. Okay, so Ruby, Linda, Tim, or Stephanie. I can take anyone who is here. And please keep updating the live so you are watching it live, because there are sometimes delays. Okay, Tim is here, Linda is here. Okay, so Linda is before Tim on my list. It's Ruby, Linda, Tim, and Stephanie. So Tim, hang in there a little bit longer. Thank you for your patience, for all of you. And Lisa says we'll get a candle from you. Yeah, definitely pick up. Like Jupiter could be helpful because it's your chart ruler. Okay, Linda. Let us do Linda's reading. And then Ruby, when Ruby comes, she can be next. Hopefully she didn't fully disappear. But Linda, did you send me? Oh, okay, Ruby. There's Ruby. Okay, sorry, I'm shuffling things around, but I will kind of stick to the order you guys have sent things. So, Ruby, did you send me your chart information? Do I have your information? If not, could you share it again? So Ruby, if you're okay with it being public, just put it in the chat. If you want it to be private, if you want me to keep your information private, you can email me Anastasia astrology@gmail.com. And thank you everyone for being patient as we move through this. Hi, Novelty Nova. Yeah, see, we're already dealing with some delays because Ruby's saying that she's here, even though I'm no longer asking. That's why please keep refreshing the live so you are watching it in real time. So waiting on Ruby's information. And then after Ruby, Linda, Tim, and Stephanie. So if you are Linda, Tim, and Stephanie, keep refreshing it. Especially if you're getting shown commercials. I think commercials are being shown, so that would be good to sort of stay ahead of time. Definitely dealing with the delay with Ruby. Okay, so Ruby, there's definitely some delay between us, but I do need your date, time, place of birth. And please send it either in the chat if you're okay with it being public. If you want it to be private, send it to my email, anastasia.astrology@gmail.com, and specify in the email that you want your information to be kept private. And ask me your question as well. Provide your date, time, place of birth, and a question. Oh, okay. Ruby's Suzanne. Okay, so now I just need the question from Ruby. Okay, Ruby, please refresh it as soon as you can because we are behind. All right, I keep calling you Ruby. Suzanne. Suzanne. So I'm just waiting for the question from Suzanne. And also, I have a Virgo Sun, Aries Moon, Leo Rising. Is that correct for you? Hi, Ka-chow Diva. Okay, so Suzanne says, I would like a birth chart reading. I've been going through a lot of life changes recently and feel a bit lost about my direction. I'd like insight into my love life, relationships, and what may be coming ahead for me. I'm also entering a new phase financially, so I'd appreciate guidance on career and money decisions. Thank you. So, Suzanne, I would ask you to prioritize what the most important here, because these are shorter readings. So, I won't be able to cover all of the things, but I can look at a couple of things. So, because you're mentioning life direction, you're mentioning relationships, and you're mentioning career and finances. So, if you could narrow it down for me, I would appreciate it. Love. Okay. And okay. And you shared your information. So I assume it's okay to show your chart. And I'm glad. I think you have updated it. So I think we are all caught up. Okay, so we can look at love as finance and finances. That's more manageable for sure. Okay, so just to double check, Virgo Sun, Aries Moon, Leo Rising. Is this correct for you? And a lot of changes make sense because we've had. So you have 4 planets in Virgo, and South Node has been in Virgo since the beginning of 2025. So South Node would have conjoined your Saturn, and Saturn rules your house of health, work, problem solving, and relationships. And so there could have been some changes to work, maybe partners, life, and some structures in your life. Perhaps, you having a lot of Virgo suggests that you may appreciate having control over things in your life, potentially finances, but maybe also other things, right? Like Virgo likes sort of to be grounded and know where things are going. And then we had South Node conjunct your Jupiter, and Jupiter rules your 5th house of romance, pleasure, children, and your 8th house of partners, money, and shared finances, debts, mortgage, inheritance, insurance. So there could have been changes there. And then right now it's conjoining your Mercury, which is the ruler of your house of money and your house of friendships. And it's going to conjoin your Sun in a little bit, which is the ruler of your house of identity. So there's been a lot. It feels like a lot. So makes sense. And so what South Node is doing is one thing, it's repeating the cycle from 2008, 2009. What was that like for you? Actually 2006, 2007, forgive me, because 2008, 2009 is coming up. But 2006, 2007 is when we last had, like, second half of 2006 into 2007. It's the last time we've had South Node in Virgo, North Node in Pisces. And what it's doing is kind of encouraging you to embrace being more vulnerable, I think, and it's encouraging you to learn to find more resilience within. So with South Node in the second, there may be these changes financially, relationships, a lot of other things. There may be this sort of sense that what felt stable no longer feels stable. There may be a sense that your personal finances are maybe, like, you're having to support a lot of people, or you had to spend money on something, or there are professional changes, and there is less of an ability to focus on like material stability. What I think is encouraged is to find spiritual stability, to sort of discover ways to support yourself through difficulty, through challenges, and maybe also ask for help and, like, lean on other people, allow other people to come into your life and support you. Oh my God, you got married in 2006 and you divorced this year. So the whole cycle was for you the beginning of a relationship and now the end of a relationship. That is crazy. That is, I mean, it happens relatively often because astrology is real and it shows that it's real and in people's lives all the time. But the fact that it was the beginning of a relationship and now it wrapped up for you makes crazy sense. Um, and so yeah, so there is this sort of sense that a lot of things are transforming, um, and some kind of trust is required because if you were born with this placement, which you're not, but if you were born with this placement, there would have been a very strong focus on sort of going through tumultuous events in life so that you build emotional resilience because you probably can, you can probably always figure out financial matters. You have Mercury in rulership in the second house of money. Jupiter is here. Saturn is, of course, complicating things a little bit, but I think you can make ends meet if necessary. But what you're working on is sort of working on trusting and working on, um, yeah, and like Jupiter is also suggesting some kind of endings, but it's going to conjoin your Venus pretty soon. And I wonder if there is a new relationship coming into your life because back when Jupiter was conjoined, Jupiter was not Jupiter, but we've had eclipses in Virgo Pisces last time. You met your husband that you now divorced. So I wonder if Jupiter on Venus in May, June? No, May. In May, Jupiter is going to conjoin your Venus. I wonder if that could be financially beneficial. Let me reshare for a second. If that could be relationships, good for relationships and maybe financially too. So here's Jupiter on around May 11th. It's going to be right on top of your Venus, and Venus is always connected to relationships. Yeah, you have like a pretty strong chart, all things considered. You've got Mars in rulership. You have Venus in the 12th house, which could be complicated for relationships, especially when she's in Cancer. Like you're probably loyal to a fault and you form strong attachments and you're kind of, like you love deeply. And so financially, I can definitely see this being a bit more complicated. I think it's going to improve as South Node leaves your second house, so in July, August. And relationships wise, you're about to go through your nodal reversal. And that begins in July as well, July 20. So yeah, July 26th. So July, August could be very significant. And that will bring North Node into the house of relationships and South Node into the first house of identity. And so new relationship may be coming your way. You're saying I live with someone, however, I'm not sure why it feels so off and I still talk to my ex-husband. We are great friends. Okay. Do you have any kids? Is it also why you talk to your husband? Because you need to manage those things? Okay, you have kids. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I feel like if something feels off, if you are with someone and it doesn't feel like the right fit, maybe that relationship is going to dissolve sometime within the next year. We're going to have Venus retrograde in a little bit. October, November, Venus is going to be retrograding, and there may be a sense that as she goes retrograde, if the relationship feels iffy and it's not built on solid foundations, it may be a testing time when the relationship goes through a difficult time. We've had the same Venus retrograde, similar Venus retrograde, same place, kind of similar energy in 2018, also October, November. So if you remember that being a testing time, it could bring similar energy. I hope this answers your questions, Ruby. I think you're very much entering a new period for relationships, and so if you don't feel like this is the right fit, don't be afraid to set it free, because there may be something better coming with, like, Pluto also went into your 7th house, and Pluto will be here for 20 years, a little less at this point, until like we have 17 years of Pluto, 17 more years. And it really wants you to find relationships that stimulate your passions, that ignite the fire within you, that feel sort of honest and vulnerable and raw and truthful. And so if you are meeting people that do not make you feel those things, then maybe those are not right fits. And you're welcome. I hope it helped. So next we have Linda, Tim, and Stephanie. Linda, are you still here? I think I'm gonna scroll up. You did say I can share your chart. Let me see. Did you send me your information? Okay, I do have your information. Wonderful. So yes, Linda, please speak up. And for everyone else, keep refreshing. Oh, you're born on June 14, same as my mom and my cousin. A lot of June 14 people. Okay, Linda's here. Perfect. I'm going to turn the light on real quick, so bear with me. Okay. Oops. Just a second. So scrolling up, Linda. Okay. So Linda says, hi, I'm Linda. You can share. I've been feeling stagnant in career and romance for years. In particular, any new career moves or romantic prospects in the near future? Let us see. And Tim and Stephanie are next. So thank you for your patience. The list is closed in case anyone else is wondering. But I am doing these guys. I'm doing the lives every Monday. So if you'd like a reading and you didn't get one today, you can always get one next Monday. And Linda, I have a Gemini Sun, Leo Moon, Virgo Rising for you. Please let me know if that is correct. Tim, awesome. Tim is still here. You're next, Tim. So do stay. Okay, Linda says that is correct. So career moves or romantic prospects. Let us see. Career moves, 100%. What has been happening? Any new ideas or any shakeups, disruptions, professional developments between July 7th and November 7th, 2025? Uranus, the Great Awakener, is about to go into your 10th house. And if we have any Leo risings still watching, do tell us, how has Uranus in the 10th house affect your career sector between 2018 and right now? Uranus in the 10th is a time of professional reinvention. And you would have had a teaser trailer of that between July 7th and November 7th last year. What it does a lot of times is introduce new opportunities. and it disrupts things. And a lot of times it disrupts things if you feel stagnant and you're not doing anything about it, but you're like restless and you don't like things. Uranus can introduce a situation that may feel like something's happening outside of your control, but what it really is kind of, it might happen because of something you almost like manifested, something you want in your career. So it could be this like interesting period in which, and Uranus likes Gemini, right? Like Uranus is quite happy in Gemini because Gemini is the sign that is like endlessly curious. So I can see this manifesting. Like Uranus is going to enter your 10th house on April 25th. It's going to stay there until 2033. So for 7 years, it's going to be in your 10th house of career. And this can show up as you seeking opportunities that give you more freedom, that involve technology, that involve AI, science, internet type of work, anything that allows you, working remotely, something that gives you freedom, something that stimulates your mind as well, like being an astrologer, being a Reiki healer. There could be some type of like kind of future oriented type of work that you're doing. And being the person who initiates it is better than going through shakeups, because it can also, like I said, it can also suggest that if you're like feeling more stuck and you're not willing to create change in your life, then it could be more disruptive. It could be a sign that something happens to like throw you off balance. Like let's say you get fired and you have to look for a different job. But if you're actively searching for work and you're looking for something that could be this like futuristic, exciting for you, we have Pluto in the 6th house. We've had South Node in your 1st house. Like Pluto in the 6th could be a sign of maybe deep interest in some kind of healing work, deep interest in nutrition and diet and exercise. And so Uranus can encourage you to express your originality. You do have Mercury retrograde ruling your house of career. So having a certain like ambivalence, going ahead, moving backwards, moving forwards professionally. There could be like, Mercury retrograde suggests that like you can try something, then you can go back to another career. There's sort of natural natal promise that exists. I would really recommend Mercury in Gemini candle for you, because that's Mercury and its rulership in your 10th house of career. And doing mercurial things, like you're born with the sun conjunct midheaven, being a writer. I don't know if you like writing at all. Being like even maybe talking, creating a podcast, being like having a YouTube channel. Jupiter is in your 11th right now, blessing you with supportive relationships, good alliances. It could be a good lucky transit to go on social media and start some type of podcast or something. Linda, if you have any feedback for me, do let me know, especially if you noticed any professional restlessness around July 7th until November 7th last year. And relationship wise, we still have one last eclipse in your 7th house of relationships. So North Node has been in your 7th house since January 2025. And we've had the first eclipse here in September 2024. So one might say since September 2024, there's been a lot of focus on relationships. There was another eclipse in September 2025, and there's one last eclipse in August 2026. And until then, the window, there's like a really big window in terms of your love life that is open. And so August could be quite significant romantically. Jupiter being in the 11th, ruling your 7th house, can also suggest that there's maybe like, friends can become lovers. Friends can turn into partners. Maybe you can meet someone at like a wedding or a networking event. there's a lot to unpack. If you wanted to like book a reading, we can also talk about your Saturn in the seventh house at some point in the future and how it affects things. But I think in terms of like, there's definitely relationship possibilities, and something big and important can happen in August because there is one last eclipse here. So I hope this helps. Let me know if there's any follow-up things that you want me to clarify on. Otherwise, Tim is next. Tim, could you share your birthday information with me and tell me whether I can post it publicly or not? And if you'd like it to be private, you can email it to anastasia.does.astrology@gmail.com. But if you're okay with it being shared, you can put it in the chat. Linda says that is it. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. I hope good things in career and relationships are coming your way. Okay. Tim says you send it with the payment. And is it okay to share it? So it's Tim and Stephanie right now. Two of the final survivors. Final, most committed, longest standing survivors. And so, Tim, I have Aries Sun. Oh, your birthday is almost here. Aries Sun, Leo Moon, Cancer Rising. Okay. Okay. You're saying yes, the information is correct. And what is your question? What are we looking at? So just waiting for Tim's question. Career and relationship transit. Why choose if you can do both? What is well, we can do both, but what's top priority? Let us start with. Okay, career. Yeah, career makes sense because that's where a lot of things are happening right now. And let us talk about that. So the question for you, what was happening in your career life between 96 and 99? That's a question for a lot of people today. But between 96 and 99, Saturn would have been in your 10th house of career, status, and reputation. And right now, 2026, 2027, early 2028, it is back in your 10th house of career, status, and reputation. We've also had a preview of the Saturn between May 25th and September 1st last year. And so what's interesting here is that you're coming out of your second Saturn return. You would have had your first Saturn return in 94, from 94 to 96. And you just had your second Saturn return. And the first Saturn return tends to be often the entrance into the workforce, the border between childhood, young adulthood, and adulthood. And the second Saturn return can often represent a desire to step away from being as actively involved. So you see people retire, you see people slow down and maybe take less clients, do less things, and sort of things um, tend to reformat. There may be a sense of some kind of readjustment. You're saying you won an injury lawsuit in 97. As a lawyer? Probably not, right? You were suing someone and you won. In 94, you started your first company. Okay, that's interesting. So that would have been your first Saturn return. Is that company still existing? What was your Saturn return like? Have there been a sense of that company maybe experiencing some kind of turning point as a claimant? Yeah, no, I figured it out. I figured that it probably wouldn't be as a lawyer. Okay, so what is happening right now, right? There are a few things, big things. Neptune and Saturn are in your 10th house. We just had a rare once in 38 years Saturn Neptune conjunction in February. What this suggests is two things. On one hand, there may be a sense of dissatisfaction with things as they are. Neptune can represent longing for something that doesn't quite exist, something intangible. However, on the other hand, it can also represent a new beginning. It can represent a new dream that is Aries like in nature, starting something new. It could involve like athleticism, heroism, some kind of ideas of like being a hero, doing work that helps encourage and empower others, maybe even working with men or some kind of, like empowerment of masculine energy. You do have a very strong Mars ruling your house of career. So being independent, being sort of assertive professionally makes a lot of sense. Saturn creates obstacles, delays, restrictions, right? Saturn can suggest that while you have this exciting idea, and this month we're going to have a new moon here, actually this Friday, there's also a need to move slowly. There's also a need to deal with some kind of adversity. And on some levels, you may also have to face your own fears and your own self-doubt, perhaps, connected to competition or other people and what they, like competition or authority figures or some like challenges. You're saying Saturn seems to be challenged currently. So you said, though, you won an injury lawsuit in 97. When did that lawsuit start? And are there any similarities between right now and back then? I like your Jupiter in the 11th. That to me suggests kind of good network and support. Ruben, I am wrapping up for the day. My list is closed, so I have two more people to get through. So it started in 96. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Ruben, but I'm doing these every Monday. So if you wanted to get a reading next Monday, 20th of April, 5 p.m. Eastern, you can come and join. Yeah, so Tim, I wonder if there is some kind of repetition right now of what was happening in 96. Maybe it's not about a lawsuit, but maybe there is some type of like, if you won a lawsuit, you were probably dealing with frustrating authority figures that you had to fight. You're saying you're dealing with some current legal things, but no more court. And so what's happening with your career right now? And how is Saturn presenting challenges? Yeah, with Saturn in the 10th, there may be this sort of urgency and desire to accomplish things, but it will teach you lessons of taking it one step at a time. It may also bring authority figures that are too forceful or people that need to approve you. They may be too forceful, too impatient, too impulsive, too childish. You're supposed to be responsible. Why are you behaving like a child? And so having to deal with these people and move slowly until you get your goals. Okay, you're starting a new company now. That's interesting. And you started your first company in 94 and you're starting a new company now. So it's probably a good time to do it. And I think like in your chart, you have good promise in regards to those things. But it could be with Saturn, it could be a sign that it will be a slow start to things. Oh, you're saying procrastination with Saturn, it seems. Um, yeah, I get that. I feel that. Yeah, maybe you'll get some positive energy as Mars begins to get close to a square with Jupiter. So I think right now it's very much slow because Saturn and Mars are conjoining, but then a little bit later, as you're going through your Mars return, which will be the beginning of May, that could be a good time to act upon things. So your exact Mars return is on April 30. April 30, May 1st, but give it also like 4 days before, 4 days after. And then what's happening here is it's your Mars return, and Mars is also squaring Jupiter in your first house. And that could be potentially a beneficial time to maybe get things moving and get things started. But still, you kind of have to be ready, even with the legal case that you dealt with in like 96, 97. Whatever was happening back then, if that was also something that took a while and was dragging or was kind of slow, required a lot of patience, required a lot of resilience, this is very much a similar period. But I think it shouldn't prevent you from starting things. It should just be something to somewhat of a warning. And you have Mars in Aries, you have your Sun in Aries. Patience maybe is not your strong suit. Maybe it is. Maybe you've got some patience, but something to work on maybe right now. And as far as relationships, I think Capricorn season could be interesting. I Right now Saturn is the ruler of your seventh house, is in the house of career, so you can actually be meeting someone who's maybe hardworking, or someone you may meet someone through starting this business and sort of meet somebody interesting. And the really big relationship period is going to start in 2027, 2028, when you will begin to have eclipses here. So um, it may be the time to focus on the work part. Not that relationships are not a no-go completely, but I feel like some like significant relationship can be closer to late 2027, 2028. Oh wow, you have two ex-wives, both Capricorns, and you're saying you're better with patience. That's good. That's good. If you are good with patience, that's good. But even like Capricorn season, December, January this year could be interesting. And we have Venus retrograding from your fifth house into your fourth house in October, November. That could bring someone from the past into your life, but I would be careful. I would be careful starting new relationships. Not that you shouldn't at all, but maybe something to watch out for, of like making things official, because sometimes things can be like cloudy or unclear when Venus is retrograde. But it could be, if there is some unresolved matters with one of your exes, maybe October, November is when that gets more attention, gets resolved. So I hope this was helpful, Tim. Stephanie, are you with us still? And I think Stephanie has sent her information, so let me pull it up. Stephanie, is it okay to share your birthday info? We have a lot of Arieses here today. It's all Ariesi, Ariesias. You're welcome, Tim. I'm glad it was helpful. Okay, Stephanie, so you're saying, yes, I can share. Okay, good. And did you give me your question as well? Stephanie, for some reason I can't find your birth town. Is there any Oh, wait. Okay. It wasn't spelled correctly in one of the emails. I see it now. There we go. Okay. Problem solved. Oh, Ruben says they have a crisis this month with all the Aries in the sky. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know about a crisis, but it's like it's definitely on fire. Um okay, Stephanie says my question is around love. Ultimately, with like a serious partner, but dated someone for a year or so, and we recently saw each other after almost a year of not. So you dated someone for a year, and then it didn't work out, and so you didn't see them for a year, right? Um, Ruben says we're getting slapped with the Aries energy this month. We are. It is tough as a Libra rising with Aries in my seventh. It is not a party over here. Even though Aries wants things to be like a party, I think it's a bit tricky. So Stephanie, I'm just trying to understand the timeline. Okay, so you dated someone for a year. Ruben says Libra rising with Cap stellium and the fourth, not looking forward to my Saturn square. Ooh, it's your Saturn square. I've done that last year, so it's tricky. Okay, so Stephanie. Let us look at your chart. Don't be scared, Ruben. Ruben, at least you have your sense of humor. Just laugh through pain. I feel like Libra risings always have this thing where like we have to be like light and airy and chill, and even if we're struggling, we're like everything is. Oh, you're a Sagittarius, so that helps for sure. Sagittarius energy is always the optimist of the zodiac. Okay, Stephanie, you're saying you met in 2024 and you broke up last May. Okay, let us see. So I have Aries Sun, Taurus Moon, Aries rising for you. Is that correct? And you've got Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto in your seventh house of relationships. Saturn is, of course, a pretty complicated planet. So Jupiter is supportive, right? I think Jupiter suggests that even if relationships come into your life and they have karmic lessons or they don't quite work out, they all teach you something. Jupiter can also represent I think it's you're 81. People born in 81, they are born with this Jupiter Saturn conjunction. So it's like the gifts come with karmic lessons, right? And lessons come with their own gifts. So the two planets hanging together are interesting. And with Saturn, Pluto is its own vibe. Saturn in the seventh, you have to always be aware of the tendency to project commitment issues onto other people, while Saturn in the seventh often indicates your own commitment issues and your own fear of commitment, right? Saturn in the seventh. I have a friend with Aries rising, and she's born in 82, but she's also got Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and her moon in the seventh house. And the way she approaches dating is by having like a crazy checklist that other people very much struggle to fit. I'm not saying that's who you are, but there may be some kind of, Saturn builds walls. Saturn builds all these layers of intimacy, and who gets through here, who gets to this level. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, right now with Saturn in Aries and this being your Saturn opposition, you're saying, yes, I've been thinking about that a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of focus right now on you. And so Saturn being the first house, being opposite your natal Saturn, is kind of saying like, on some level, it might kind of encourage you to take ownership of what you desire in a relationship and how you might be protecting yourself, right? Like how you might be consciously or subconsciously keeping people at an arm's length. So you're wondering what's coming up in love. Let us look at that. But I feel like it's like worth looking at this so you know what the baseline of your chart is, because everything else that is coming up, it is likely stimulating what is promised in your natal chart. So kind of focusing on that, focusing on like being perhaps more willing to welcome people, even if they're not perfect, could be important. The ruler of your seventh house of relationships is Venus. She's in your first house. She's in her detriment. So while it might suggest that people approach you a lot of times, there might be some tendency to deal with people who are like maybe competitive or I don't know, like another thing to keep in mind is just sort of watch for choosing chase over the conquest, like choosing people who make you excited but don't necessarily create stability, because your moon in Taurus does really want stability. I would also, just a quick sort of throw in there, Venus in Libra could really be helpful for your relationship sector, and every Friday doing some Venus rituals, buying yourself flowers, taking yourself out on a date, treating yourself to a delicious meal. And so kind of reading a prayer to ask for what you seek romantically could be good. What's coming up? So the ruler is Venus. She's hanging out with Saturn, but Saturn is not going to conjoin her for a while. Jupiter is going into your fifth house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, children on June 30. It's going to be here for a year. The last time it was here would have been 2014, 2015, summer 2014 until about spring, early summer 2015. It could kind of boost relationships and bring more play and joy. South Node is also going to be here simultaneously. So it's going to be about like, you're also kind of entering a really fertile period of your life. I don't know if you have kids. I don't know if you're planning to have kids, but Jupiter here can make you extra likely to get pregnant. So something to watch out for. But this could be like a really sort of good thing. But I think with South Node, it's like read the fine print and make sure that you're not falling into choosing drama over stability, or make sure that you're not falling into the trap of like behaving a certain way or presenting presenting a certain front, presenting a persona to your partner. Be truthful, even if it can scare someone away. And then I think there was something else. Oh, and then Venus will be retrograding from your 8th into the 7th. So that could be the time when you might be dating someone from the past. If we're thinking of this person that you broke up with last May and he like re-entered your life, Venus, the ruler of your 7th house, is going to be moving backwards from Scorpio into Libra. And so if you're considering giving another relationship a chance, I mean, maybe you restart dating them sooner, but that period between October, November, when Venus is retrograding from your 8th into the 7th, that could be like a trial by fire almost period. Not necessarily, but the last time we've had that, so that's October, November. Last time we've had the same retrograde would have been October, November 2018. So if you remember, what was that like? And he's a Libra. That works with your chart. I think generally that could be pretty good. And so, yeah, so what was happening in your love life in October, November 2018? And you just turned 45, correct? 33, 45. Yeah, I wonder about 2018, October, November, and I wonder about 12 years ago when Jupiter was in your fifth house and you would have been in the 10th house ruled by Saturn in the seventh house. So 2014 until your birthday in 2015 were those interesting years for relationships. And you're saying you froze your eggs. That's great. That's a really, I approve. I have done it myself. So dating someone from the past can show up. Venus will be in Libra for a while this year. She enters in August. So she's going to be in your relationship sector all throughout August. She's going to enter Scorpio, go retrograde in October, November. So maybe it's this relationship with the ex that you are considering giving another go ahead. Maybe it's a brand new relationship that begins around August timeline. The retrograde from October into November could be a bit tricky in terms of having to face some obstacles and having to embrace imbalance, or like not embrace, having to review any imbalances in a relationship and perhaps like discuss things openly and honestly. Very little going on in love in 2018. You were on a retreat year. What about 2014 and early 2015? You had broken up with someone, maybe dated new people 2015. Okay. So relationships were kind of highlighted around the time. Enlightened aura, you're asking if you're too late. Yes, I am wrapping up in a couple of minutes doing my last reading for the day, but I am going live consistently on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern. So you can still join. Yeah, so I think that's what I'm seeing, and I think kind of working on yourself, especially with Saturn here, figuring out what you want, how you want to communicate in relationships, with Uranus going into your third house. Kind of breakthroughs in communication could be happening right now. North Node in the 12th could be helpful for realizing your sort of personal blocks and challenges. And Venus does spend, she's in your seventh house of relationships for a long while. So she comes in, as mentioned, in August. So she's here August, most of August. She begins to slow down. So she stays here until even early September. Yeah, look at that. It's like so slow for Venus. So all of August, you have Venus in her domicile in her seventh house, in your relationship sector, in your seventh house. And then September, kind of most of September, she's in Scorpio. That could begin to test relationships. And then she retrogrades. She returns into Libra. And she kind of helps you, I think, figure things out and find balance by like November. I would really recommend a Venus in Libra candle. I think having that as a candle you light every Friday, read a prayer, or like read sort of affirmations, your perfect partner, perfect relationship, and then doing other rituals like wearing green, taking yourself on a date, getting yourself flowers could be powerful. You're saying, yes, it's something I wanted to communicate with a past person. Perhaps I projected some things, but it's something I wanted to say that in person. Yeah, it could be, it's interesting that you're getting another chance with someone. So maybe this another chance is for a reason. And if you wanted to look at that relationship, to do like a relationship reading, I also do those. So you can book a relationship reading with me and we can like, dive into your charts together and see how it's working and what's challenging and how maybe you can approach it with more awareness. So I hope this helped. I do think mostly having Venus in Libra for a while is good. Just be ready for some shakeups and some opportunities to get closer. Venus retrograde is a testing time for relationships, but relationships that are meant to last will last. It's just potentially going to reveal certain things. So thank you everyone who watched. Thank you everyone who participated today. And if you didn't get a reading, as mentioned, every Monday you can meet me here and get your reading next week. And you're welcome, Stephanie. You're saying I have to watch the video again. Yeah, you can. It's going to be, the recording will be there for your reference and you can just fast forward to the end of it and listen to it again. And I will see you guys soon. I'm going live on Wednesday again to do a breakdown of the current Aries energies. Book a reading with me. Come study astrology with me. My natal class begins in September. Check out all of my offerings. I'm kind of surrounded by them. So I will see you soon. Bye, Ruben. Thank you for your humor. Thank you for your Sagittarian humor and your Capricornian knowledge and wisdom. Okay. Bye.